Deputy Officer of Interdisciplinary Studies, Ideas at OP Jindal Global University. I welcome you all to today's masterclass with Dr. Rathin Roy. The masterclass is titled Unequalising Prosperity and Political Asymmetry, a peninsular telling of the big discord in India's contemporary political economy. The masterclass seminar series is a core component of our MSc Development Practice program, where we try to bring in scholars and practitioners from all across the globe in order to sort of bridge the gap between classroom learning and the everyday lived realities of development work. Before I introduce the speaker, I would request Professor Dipanshu Mohan, Professor of Economics and Dean of Ideas, to give a welcome address.
Thank you guys, thank you. No, I have to say this because Dr. Rathin Roy, who has very generously given his what would be very precious time in Delhi for interacting with all of you, is someone that I personally look forward to meeting and interacting at different intervals, because there are three things that I have to mention about him, which I can do that probably on the record today. One is that he's a sort of a combination of 5 C's: confidence, courage, what you would consider as just competence, not in terms of just knowing about the discipline, but also taking conversations forward on what you would want as a scholar to know about your own area. But the two things that I've personally benefited the most of, and I'm sure that as you interact with him more over the coming years and time through ideas, would be on clarity and conviction. I think that is the two sort of main things, that the kind of clarity that one gets from being able to engage on areas of research prospectively, not just in areas of just macroeconomics, public finance, but so many aspects. And it is conversations with him which I would probably say within our own center led to around 4 or 5 different projects at different intervals, and we've all been very proud of the work students have done. So faculty members who are present, I welcome all of you. This is an amazing opportunity for all of us to have a chance to interact with Dr. Roy. The other key aspect around ideas, which is something that Dr. Roy has also written about on fraternity, which is how in India generally a low fraternal sort of structure in social fabric has spillover impacts on India's own development trajectory. I mean, if you were to say a lot of the problems we face on a day-to-day basis, not just in governance, but public policy making, thinking around development goals, is based on that. And one of the principal pillars of promoting what would be seen as interdisciplinary research or a plural epistemic core is the fact that without fraternity or creating a culture of socialization or collaboration, you cannot make that happen. So we owe a lot to him. I won't take a lot of your time. Sir, please, and we'll request you to. So Prachi will just mention that because I let her anchor this from here on. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Dipanshu, and many thanks to Dr. Roy for joining us today. Dr. Rathin Roy is a distinguished visiting professor at Kautilya School of Public Policy and visiting senior fellow at the Overseas Development Institute, that is ODI, in London. His policy interests and research have mainly focused on fiscal and macroeconomic issues pertinent to human development in developing and emerging economies. He was formerly the CEO of the National Institute of Public Finance and Policy in New Delhi and served as a member of Prime Minister Modi's Economic Advisory Council. He has previously worked as an economic diplomat and policy advisor at the United Nations Development Programme, with postings in London, New York, Kathmandu, and Brasilia. He has also served as an economic advisor with the 13th Finance Commission Government of India. Dr. Roy holds a PhD and an MPhil in economics from the University of Cambridge and an MA in economics from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has taught at the universities of Manchester and London too, a lot that sir has done. Thank you for joining us today, sir, and the floor is all yours.
40 minutes, oh, that's a lot, okay. Just give me a heads up about, so it's 3:25, oh great, this is very good. So I can talk till 4:05 max, right? Okay, good, thank you. I was also a stockbroker, just to add to that list. And it's important because in that sense, you see, the trouble is I sort of covered so many things or thought about so many things because I get bored very easily. So I began life as a stockbroker, and that was boring because it's very important. I'm not saying it's bad. You must, to be a stockbroker or a banker type, you must not just make money for yourself, you must enjoy making money for its own sake. I love money, but I like to spend it. That is not why you get a kick as a banker or something. No, you must actually enjoy it. We used to go for a beer in the evening in the other stock. I made 30 crore. I'm like, you made me, your bank made me. Then I moved to, I went abroad, but I didn't know what to do. So I went to Cambridge, and then I didn't know what to do, but you go on a scholarship, and you need work permits to become an academic. It's easy to get them because academics in those days got work permits very easily. And I got reasonably interested for the first time in my life in economics after going to Cambridge. And so I decided to become an academic. When I became an academic, I got horrified because I realized I didn't enjoy it at all. I found it shabby and genteel. And I found my colleagues, remember economists, really boring. They were really boring people to have a drink with or go out for dinner with. Other departments are interesting people. I made friends in the religions department and all that. But economics had the most boring, sort of ill-suited, unimaginative colleagues I could ever hope to have. And then my tenure track, my first interview, one of the comments was that you read too many books. So the guy, I was in his room and he said, came to my room, he said, you have a lot of books in your room, let's go to mine. So I went to his room. And he said, do you see any books in my room? I said, that. He said, that's textbook. And the rest are articles. He said, we don't do books, we are economists. So I said, oh, I was thinking of writing on that. I gave up the idea. And then I realized it's also other problem with academia then, it was not glamorous. And I tell you something, when I was a young man, even now, I like a bit of glamour in my life. I enjoy sort of, things that happen that sparkle. So I said, यहाँ तो glamour नहीं मिलेगी, तो I win Nobel Prize, तब तक तो सैठा जाऊँगा यार. And then by year 3 of my 5 year, I knew that I was not going to get the Nobel Prize. I was not that smart. Okay, professor बन जाऊँगा. I discovered there were 930 professors of economics in London. So इसका क्या फायदा है? So then I said I must get out, but I was middle class. So then if I don't get tenure and I leave, then what will people say? Middle class child. So I got tenure and within 6 months I left. Much to everyone's shock. Then UN is a wonderful place to broaden your mind. Work is optional. Completely optional. So I got a job and then you can only work if you have to. Everyone has to pretend you're working very hard. But that I was used to because that's also true of a bank. Your work is about 3 hours if you're smart. So you have a lot of free time. So let me think about lots of things like fraternity and those things he's saying. Then I got bored because I got promoted to the highest level as a civil servant, UN civils. Next is all politics. So I said, I'll do what they do, which is, 45, I have to wait 15 years. Uska life miserable karunga, iska life miserable karunga, politics khelunga. That's what you do now when you're senior and you have no future left. So if I do all this, I've made enough money, let's go back to India. So I came back to government. I'd been once before in government. And then I had a very rewarding period, which culminated in bizarrely my being appointed. It's another story, I won't go into it. Economic Advisors Council of this Modi. And only after they appointed me, I was forced to tell them I didn't vote for him. I never voted for him, I never will vote for him. I said that should not make a difference, because I'm an economist, right? I'm here to give you advice. However unpleasant, it might be, it's all unpleasant for me, not for him, it's okay. But then, certain things happened and it became very clear that what he didn't want was an economic advisor. What he wanted was an economic loyalist. And I wasn't going to be that. The only way I could survive with him was to maintain even better relations with the RSS. And I couldn't do that, beyond the point. Thoda sa kar diya, zyada. So anyway, so I left and I went back to England. Why? Because when you leave in this country a job, then people will say nasty things about you unless usko foreign mein naukri mil gayi. So I told somebody mujhe foreign mein naukri वापस चाहिए. So I waited till I got foreign ki naukri and then I left. Horrible job I did, ODI. I was the managing director, which I discovered only means handling PR, HR, and handling the board. और कोई काम ही नहीं है. Managing director is the one person who does not do research or things. Okay, they only do PR, board, and ribbon cutting. So then I left. I came back to this very interesting place, public policy. I was talking to some colleagues yesterday. Happy to chat to you more about politics. I strongly commend it to you. Anyway, so as you can see, the journey has been diverse. So I've been forced to think about very different things. Fraternity, I'd love to speak to you about. I should have done that, but let me today focus on. So I've had also an interesting, apart from a very interesting life, very interesting history. So I'm half Telugu. My mother's from Andhra Pradesh. I was born in Hyderabad. And my father is a Bengali, but Maharashtrian domiciled for 118 years. So I'm Marathi. I read, speak, write, think in Marathi. It's the only language I can think in, but also from Andhra. When I came back, I said, एक कहावत है मैं लोगों को बोलता हूँ यहाँ. नो हैदराबाद में निज़ाम था ना, तो एवरीवन अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी है, साउथ इंडिया यू हैव टू बी पोलाइट अबाउट दिस, आप भी, तो सो पीपल आस्क, अरे आप स्टे द आईआईसी, आप इतने दिन बाद दिल्ली आप और आते क्यों नहीं है? मैंने कहा देखो मैं निज़ाम के वहाँ से हूँ, तो जब दरबार में खत्म हो जाता है ना दरबारी, तो दरबारी को जागीर जाना चाहिए वापस। लेकिन ये मत सोचो निज़ाम की सोचिए कि ये जागीर आपका जागीर तो चला गया कि आपका दरबार सल्तनत में कायम रहेगा, ये मत सोचिए क्योंकि मैं जागीर गया हूँ। निज़ाम के बारे में सोचिए थोड़ा सा, you know what happened, no? Nizam of Hyderabad went there, and I'm going to talk to you about that because today in India, that is Bharat actually, or the other way around if you like, there have become most pronouncedly over the last, I would say, my lifetime, 38 years, two kinds of India. But I'm not going to say, I'm not saying something as trite as you have a prosperous and progressive South and a backward North. That is true. But it is at the same time not fully true. They are, as they used to say in Bangkok, by the way, I was also posted to Bangkok, my last job. As they say in Bangkok, same but different. Okay? Different but same. I'll explain why. So let's start with the difference. The difference is this. There is no doubt that South India in every socio-economic respect is now a transformationally different place, taken aggregatively, than Northern and Eastern India. UP's per capita income, everyone knows per capita income per person, is less than that country we love to hate. Two countries, now we hate everybody, wait. Let me take two of the many countries we hate. Nepal, UP's per capita income is less than Nepal, and less than the new hate, Bangladesh. Okay? Less. And UP is not the poorest state in India. The poorest state is Bihar. Uske baat hi mat karo. Tamil Nadu and Kerala's per capita income is $4,500, which is more than Indonesia. India is the poorest country in the G20. You know that, right? We are in G20 like slumlord millionaire. You know, we are the largest slum in the world, so you can't ignore me. Like in Mumbai, we can't ignore Dharavi. Dharavi ko baat mein lena hi padta hai because there are a lot of very poor people who live there. So India is like that. Okay, let's not fool ourselves. So maybe third largest. I'm sure Dharavi is the sixth largest economy in Bombay. It doesn't mean anything, right? So added to that, human development indicators of the four southern states, not just Kerala, all of them, all five, are upper middle income countries levels. They compete with Slovenia, even Austria, and some other places like that, certainly among the best in Asia. Kerala now has lower infant mortality numbers than the USA. So we are talking highly educated, evolved economies, human development. The GDI is not great, but it's much better than the North and the East. Education indicators, health indicators, social welfare indicators, you name it, are better in the south of India than in the north of India. Now, add to that the fact that extreme poverty does not exist in South India anymore. It does not exist. Any poverty you have in Kerala is accidental poverty. Lost all his parents and his grandparents and everybody died in some car accident. The child, so for a brief while that child will be poor till the state picks that child up. Tamil Nadu, there is one subdivision which has some poverty for very peculiar reasons of sociological reasons. I won't go into them. Karnataka and Andhra and Telangana have some poverty, but it is in low single digits, like 4%, 3%, 5%. Contrast that with Bihar, 26%, UP 20%. Extreme poverty I'm talking, $2 a day. Extreme poverty. All right. Any manufacturing that happens in this country happens in South India. Any manufacturing. Other than this, Maruti, Haryana. That is for Bansi Lal reasons, historical reasons. But otherwise there's no key. So you have these two countries within one, economically speaking. We might as well analyze two economies at 10 minutes. It's very difficult to analyze the Indian economy. You have to analyze the South Indian economy and the North Indian economy because these two economies are diverged so much now, so much, that thinking of them as one unit is going to be very difficult. And now we come to the political problems. What is the big political problem? In the south, we don't speak Hindi. Speak Dakhani at best. In Bangalore and Hyderabad. हमको दखनी बोलना आता है. मैं राष्ट्रीय हिंदी बोलता हूँ क्योंकि it was a foreign language for me. तो जब मैं राजधानी में आया इस दरबार में, मुझे हिंदी सीखना पड़ा. किंतु, परंतु, अधिकांश ये सब बकवास. My wife is from Rajasthan. She does not speak to me in Hindi, so I can't understand anything you're saying. I can only speak in that केवल, किंतु, परंतु, वातानुकूलित कुर्सियान kind of thing. All right? You know what that means? वातानुकूलित कुर्सियान? No, you don't know. Air conditioned chair. In 1980 से पता चला. But I had to grab all this Hindi and learn it. Because this is what bakwas Hindi they speak in file pay. So anyway, not just we don't speak Hindi. Unfortunately, we have not been fecund and fertile. In other words, the majority of the population always lives in North and East India. So what? So sucks to you, because now the Sultanate can tell you is, I have the political power. Because I have the political power, I will exercise it politically to make sure that your being economically powerful doesn't give you greater voice in the Sultanate. And the biggest manifestation of this, you can look at it in terms of fraternity or otherwise, is that, are you aware of something called the Finance Commission, everybody? Yes? Yes? Finance Commission? You know what they do, right? They decide every 5 years, I used to work in one, how much the taxes of India, which are collectively collected, how much the center keeps and the states keep, and how much each state gets. Now, I'm talking about the second one, which we call the horizontal devolution. How much each state gets, there is a formula. Can you guess what the largest component in that formula is? It's not population. It's not area. Yes? In every single finance commission. I don't know what this man will do, but till then. It's the inverse of the per capita income of a state. Meaning, the poorer you are, the more you get as tax share. So Bihar gets the highest share, UP because of population and this, second poorest gets the highest, then Bihar. So basically there's a massive transfer of resources that is happening through the government to the northern and eastern parts of India. This is a political settlement. It's a political bargain. We can talk about it in terms of welfareism, populism. It's all crap. This is a political bargain. That you have gotten rich, and there's a reason why India has gotten rich on the backs of northern and eastern India, which I'll explain to you, plus one unexplained puzzle I don't understand. You have gotten rich, and now what we're going to do is we're going to use the public finances, which is my core subject, technically, to retransfer that money to UP and Bihar. The funny thing is, no wait, when I said it's done on the backs of north and eastern India, what did I mean? I meant something very frightening. Southern and western India also, and my subject is not western India. Okay. It's too close to the heart. I'm from Maharashtra. I don't want to talk about Maharashtra. It's a very depressing situation. It's prosperous, but import labor, you know that, and capital, that you don't know maybe, from north and eastern India. Do you know that north and eastern India export capital to southern India? This is completely against every law of economics. North and eastern India are proof. Look at something called credit deposit ratios. We basically tell you for 1 rupee of money deposited in Bihar or Bengal, how much money is lent in Bihar or Bengal. If the ratio is more than 1, it means the money is coming from somewhere else. If the ratio is less than 1, it means the money is going somewhere else. Bihar, UP, Bengal, Jharkhand, Orissa, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, all export capital, their CD ratios are less than 1. And Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh is little less than 1, poorest state. But certainly Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Telangana, Karnataka, all greater than 1. Okay? So that's an export of capital happening, an export of labor happening. It defies logic. Because normally you should be setting up industry and manufacturing in areas where the labor is cheap, which is north and eastern India. And you should be setting up, and capital should move to areas where capital is scarce, which is north and eastern India. It's like the opposite is happening. Capital is moving to South India, labor is moving to South India, that area is getting impoverished, and then I'm using the public finances to make a a compensatory transfer. That's one politics. This politics was very interesting. When I was in the 13th Finance Commission, we have to visit every state. It's a great gig if you can get it. I strongly recommend it. Every state has a state case. Maja aa. Kashmir to Kanyakumari. With Omar Abdullah then behaving like a hotel manager. On a boat he took us, and suddenly I looked around the boat. It was like full of cops with guns. I said, "Ye to boat ride, bada khatarnak lag raha hai." Anyway, so, and I got a stone thrown at me in Srinagar. I was very happy. What is that place called which was very Lal Chowk? हाँ, तो I stopped the thing. I said, मुझे लाल चौक देखना है. फाट पत्थर है. मैंने कहा अच्छा किया. पत्थर ही फेंकना इसके. मेरे से आदमी. तो anyway, so when we used to go around to the richer states, they would not say to me that this is unfair. We are what you hear nowadays. We are collecting all the taxes. We are doing all the earning. उनको पैसा क्यों मिल रहा है? उनको हम क्या बोलते हैं आजकल भी क्यों देते हैं? They would say, sir, we also have poor areas in our state. Think about that in your formula. What I'm trying to say is there was enough fraternity in this country that till about till now, till the last 4-5 years, the states that were rich did not object to this resource transfer happening. Ever since this government has built that wretched parliament, I don't know if you guys in the Sultanate know this, but that parliament caused earthquakes in the south. I moved there in 2024 last year from London. And first thing I heard was that there's a nice place here called Namaka. I recommend it to you in Hyderabad. It is a social, cultural space that is run jointly by old Nawabs and Maoists at the same time. कभी मुशायरा होता है उसके बाद in memory of some radical Maoist, whatever his name is, forgotten his name, Sai Baba, ऐसे नाम. So and they happen one after the other, and they get on perfectly. I've never seen anything like it. So Nawabs है और Maoists, पुराने पैगा हम बोलते हैं noblemen and Maoists. So they said, you see that parliament? I said, what about that parliament? I know it's ugly. Everything that Bimal Patel builds is ugly. So what about it? Other than it's ugly. Ugly is fact of being Indian. No, aesthetics is over. Okay. He said, no. 1,000 seats. I said, so? It's a plot. I said, what plot? And they're right. When delimitation happens, essentially the political threat that delimitation holds is that UP and Bihar will need only one more state to join them to have a permanent majority in parliament. Permanent majority, if you go strictly by the population formula. So that has caused huge angst on this delimitation, on this financial redistribution. Okay, it's not my job to do diagnostics and leave it. I'm a policy guy. Solutions. मोदी तो नहीं सुनेगा तो अखबार में लिखता हूँ. Happy birthday, sorry. तो मैं भूल गया था कल. तो anyway, was it really born on that day? सब इतना झूठ बोलता है आदमी, पता नहीं कि उसका जन्म भी सच है. कोई सर्टिफिकेट है, एजुकेशन का तो नहीं है. तो अच्छा, इसके 3 रिकॉर्ड, नथिंग आई से इज ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड. उसके 3 उपाय हैं. There are 3 solutions to this, practically speaking, if you are putting on practical hand. One is that all the best solution, in my opinion, is that all the Biharis and Bengalis and Jharkhandis who are coming south become Telugus and Malayalis and Tamilians. Like my family, when we went from Maharashtra 118 years ago, we became Maharashtrian. 4th generation now, barely, I can speak some Bengali. I don't like going to Calcutta, horrible place. And I find Bengal a very sad place when I go there. I'm not like, I have no links, I have no roots. You would be the same if you moved like for 118 years ago somewhere else. You would not have links with that place. Some ancient cultural link is there, that's why I speak some Bangla, but not much. I would like that to happen to all my migrants. Then my problem as an economist is solved, because what you want is people moving from poorer areas to richer areas. Then the labor costs in these areas goes down and then they make money, right? But those areas become less populated, so they become richer by virtue of being less populated, which is in fact what has happened in all countries in the world, where people have moved from relatively poor areas to relatively rich areas. That is why Bongs are such big migrants. And we do it in this country also. All my Telugu friends moved to San Diego. All the Keralites moved to Guelph. Right? And all the UP walas come to Kerala. Hota hai, right? Hota hai. People move with the money. Okay. Problem in India is, again, I was telling him sociology. These are not human beings now who are moving. They are Brahmins and Baniyas and Rajputs and Muslims and Christians and all sorts of things. अभी सारा हम देखो ऐसा था कि my family when they moved to Bombay, Brahmin थे. So I was telling Dipanshu that one thing we know as Brahmins, when we go anywhere, any part of the world, you come to South, they know where you bury your dead, you burn your dead. Because वो एक cremation, there are some fixed point theorems. Haridwar, Gaya, Trimbakeshwar, Godavari, something. Acha. So they may not know a Bengali Brahmin, but they also understand Gotra. And in South you don't have non-Brahmins other than who are upper caste. Sacred Set is only one Brahmins. So otherwise all OBCs. It's a very equalizing thing. So we were able to integrate. So in fact, when my father married my mother back in the early 60s, there was not so much fuss, they were both Brahmins. When I married my Rajasthani Paniya wife, there was a bit of an uproar because wo Brahman nahi thi. So this is something that seems to be hardwired. I keep telling the Yadavs in Hyderabad, we have lots of Yadavs. तो शादी करना चाहिए यूपी वालों से, तू भी बैल देखता है वो भी बैल देखता है, नहीं हम उनसे क्या करेंगे, उनका हमारा कोई ताल्लुकात ही नहीं है, अरे यार तू यादव है यार, at least play the caste game, you can't do both, ना region भी खेलूंगा caste भी खेलूंगा, so they are not going to become Malayalis, and this is very interesting. So you research done on how much asset creation happens amongst recent migrants, and again what I said was right. Asset creation amongst recent migrants only happens among high human capital or upper caste migrants. Okay, so Brahmins who are migrating, there are not many who are migrating as labor anymore, but those of Brahmins who are migrating are accumulating assets there, are learning languages there. So if you take, and you know, the others are not. If you look very carefully at Baniyas, of course, the first thing they do is they learn a language. Huh? Take any Marwadi, the first thing they do, wherever they go, they'll speak that language. So that assimilation happens. That's not going to happen. Otherwise, I could do a political bargain. Let's keep the delimitation in abeyance, and then population equalizes, then your delimitation problem is over. And solution one, not going to happen, sociological barrier. Solution two is that the South starts investing in the North. Capital from the South goes to the North. This I know from my government days will not work. Let me tell you something very interesting. The shirt I'm wearing costs 4,000 rupees. It is made in India. A shirt costing 300 or 250 rupees. I apologize when you see me saying this on TV. It's called Rathin shirts, I know. How many of you have heard this? Very few, only one thing. But with your indulgence, I'll repeat it. Huh? A shirt that costs 250 rupees, which a normal person wears, normally not poor, poor don't wear shirts. Okay? Somebody who's mildly aspirational, which you buy in Sarojini Nagar or Fashion Street. 83% of those shirts are imported from Vietnam and Bangladesh. Right? Why can we make 4,000 rupee shirts and not make 80? So I did some research. I went to Tirupur, Tamil Nadu, and I went to Vapi, Gujarat. I said, why aren't you making these shirts? I know it's a volume business, but there's money in volume. No, I want people to make money. I'm not a communist. So, paisa banao, jao, North India. No, wage rates are too high. I said, wage rates are too high in Vapi and in Tirupur. I know. They're not high in Gorakhpur. No skills, sir. I said, what no skills? The whole shop floor is full of people called Paswan. You know, all coming from Jharkhand and all that. They're highly skilled. Bengalis are coming, UP people are coming. And you don't want to go, I understand. I mean, I wouldn't willingly go and leave South India to go, and I don't know why you came to Delhi. I would willingly leave South India to come and live in Gorakhpur or something. But empower them as entrepreneurs. Make them your agents. Let them set up the factories. Let's have some manufacturing going. Then the real answer came not from them, but from Gujaratis. Tamilians are polite. They mumble. They have a nice way of mumbling. And they'll say something in English, they'll say all that. I mean, I don't want to talk to them. I've figured that out. They just, they won't say anything while talking. And beyond the point, you'll give up. So, very stubborn. So, the Gujaratis are rude. You should know that by now. They've been ruled by some for 50 years. They said, nahi sahab, unka swabhav hi kuch kharab hai. I said, what? Again, sociology, I can't do anything. I've been defeated by sociology. स्वभाव खराब है मतलब क्या? नहीं वो ठीक लोग नहीं है. का अंदर से स्वभाव खराब है. अच्छा. तो फिर why do you have them on your shop floor? हाँ, यहाँ तो कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं ना. इसलिए तो we don't pay them enough to bring their families. We don't build them housing. We keep them on a leash. In fact, we encourage them to go back to their hometowns. Their links are there and not here. So option 2 is out because South India does not get on with North India. Option 3 is a nuclear option for the South, which ain't gonna work because they don't have the guts. And I'm going to come to that in the last part of my talk. See, I've told all the chief, not all. I haven't told the Kerala chief minister. It's impossible to talk to him. Last time I went to Trivandrum, I thought the chief minister of Bihar had come. You understand this. He had a 36-car cavalcade. I have never seen this in Kerala. I was shocked, just absolutely shocked. So-called communist. So I asked somebody. They said he thinks somebody is coming to kill him. But iska to ho gaya, ye to stand in line to go. Anyway, so then the communist, last communist in India, 36-car cavalcade. वो पीते लगा के सब स्टैम्प टैग लगा के यहाँ पुलिस वहाँ पुलिस वो ब्लैक कोट ब्लू कोट तो क्या केरला because Kerala this would never happen earlier, believe me. It was a very open state. I mean, even Revanth Reddy in Telangana doesn't do this, so he has 10 car capital. But this third issue is you can do what many countries, a few countries have done, become so bloody prosperous that the North will have no choice. I say peninsula perspective, I'm speaking from the perspective of the peninsula, but to accept it. Like, suck it and see. If I become 14 times as prosperous, which is I increase South India per capita income from $4,500 to $20,000, and North India is still stuck at $3,000, let's say, they will not be able to do anything. You will have economically completely dominated. Sad thing is, ye bhi nahi kar payenge, and this is where the South has a problem. And I'll conclude with that. You see, the South, I said, now different I've shown you, now let me tell you what same. The South has three barriers to a quantum increase in prosperity which are impacting them. One is what I call feudalism. It is alive and well even in the great state of Kerala, by which I'm saying this as an economist, not as a political person or anything like that. Why is feudalism important? For this I asked, I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to have Chief Minister of TN, Telangana and Karnataka together. So I asked them, I said, in your capital city, how much does a cup of tea cost? I said, what do you mean? So I said, how much does a cup of tea cost? So, okay. Two of them said, 20, 30 rupees. They were completely out of touch. They probably not had a cup of tea in their lives. You mean I had a phone? Then Stalin said, oh, it costs outside the secretariat, I know I've been always like to show off, it costs 12 rupees a cup of tea. I said, okay. And I said, how much does a cup of tea cost in Cafe Coffee Day or whatever it's called, Madras Coffee House? 80 rupees, sir. I said, how is it that you're able to sell a cup of tea both at 12 rupees, 80 rupees? Because you have informal sector. I said, not tell me, who is selling the coffee in Madras Coffee House? Chameleon. Who is selling the coffee 12 rupees in the kadai outside? Jharkhandi. People who come to work in your house. You know this, you're from Kerala. Who is working in the hotels and restaurants? Biharis, UP people, Bengalis. Who is working as a maid in your house? Normally not at the in Hyderabad or anywhere else. Do they wash bartans? Your per capita income is $4,500. Kaun hai? Sorry. How come you don't have a dishwasher? I mean what I'm saying. See, how come you haven't moved into that virtuous circle of high productivity, high wage? Second question I asked, and this will intuitively appeal to you. So basically what you're doing is you're getting these people to come. They're not adding to your productivity. They're just replacing your workers with the same feudal, so you're able to enjoy the same feudal lifestyle that you enjoyed when you were like a dehati. अब तुम्हारा per capita income देहाती वाला नहीं है, बस तुम देहाती रहे. Same but different. Number two, huge inequality in many dimensions. I'll give you two quick examples. 69% of the GSDP of Karnataka is produced in three districts: Bangalore urban, Bangalore rural, Mysore. 82% of the GSDP of Karnataka is produced in 5 districts. You add Mangalore and South Canada, Manipal wale log. Those 5 districts accounts for 81% of the GSDP of Karnataka. Ditto in Tamil Nadu. Ditto in Telangana is an extreme example. 64% of Karnataka's GSDP is produced in 3 districts of Hyderabad. At least he's trying to do something about it. But so you see, the same inequality you see between North and South is reproduced in the southern states. And they don't do anything about it. Karnataka is smug about it. They think they have achieved good life. Third question I said, would you agree with me? First tell me that if you are a factory worker, the best job you could have in this country is at Apple or Samsung. Not a controversial point. It's a great job to have. It's better than working for Mahindra, right? An Indian manager. So, okay. Accepted? Both these factories are in the great state of Tamil Nadu. Asymmetry in Telangana. Accenture. Okay. Global headquarters of Asian headquarters of Boeing is in Telangana, Hyderabad. What is the median wage of a worker with 3 or 4 years experience in Apple and Samsung? Not much higher in Accenture. it is 48,000 rupees a month. If you earn 48,000 rupees a month, you pay income tax? No. Which means that the best possible job provided in Tamil Nadu pays too little for that person to be prosperous enough to pay income tax. What sort of a $4,500 per capita income state are you? Where your richest worker can't even earn enough to pay income tax. Income tax. It's kind of basic, right? अब बिहार यूपी में ठीक है, you know, these are poor states. तुम तो अमीर हो, इतना भी कमाई नहीं है. And what is therefore happening, I could go on and on about this because I'm working on it now, is they have become very extractive economies. The per child, I've been working on this, the expenditure per child, public and private, on school education. In the great state of Tamil Nadu is 3,000 rupees per child. In the great state of Bihar, it is 2,200 rupees per child. Bihar is 4 times less prosperous than Tamil Nadu. But Tamil Nadu only spends 20% more per child. They should be spending at least 4 times more per child. And then moving into high productivity, it should be more than 4. But no. I can go into wage rates, I can go into anything. So basically, the conditions that would enable these states to prosper are by these states' own doing, preventing this prosperity from happening. What am I doing? I'm trying to persuade them with partial success that these are important. These are very important considerations if they want to prosper, and their entire and एक फिल्म था रोटी, किसी ने देखा है 70s में, गाना था पब्लिक है सब जानते हैं. People in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka and Andhra and Kerala, they know this. And the politicians know that they know this. It's a very odd psychological game they play with each other. Everybody knows this. Therefore, you see the third same. In these so-called prosperous states, what do people demand? They demand the same things that they want in the Dehati states, in the poor states. They want compensation, they want free bus ride, they want sari, they want 2,000 rupees for women. अरे तुम तो बड़े-बड़े लोग थे, क्या हो गया? Same things are demanding that Bihar and UP demand. That means you can't be so different from Bihar and UP. So all that has happened is a level effect. You have a high per capita income, but the conditions to transition to prosperity, whether it is removing feudalism, whether it is improving equality. And my favorite on fraternity, one of the examples I gave, Dipanshu didn't say, I couldn't have on fraternity, is India is the rudest and most ill-mannered country I've lived in my whole life. And I say this on the empirical evidence of the traffic. They're the rudest and most ill-mannered and low fraternity people I have seen. Unfortunately, I have to report to you that Kerala is only 20% better. Sri Lanka is 200% better. Go to Sri Lanka, it is like India without the dirt and with politeness. They even stop at traffic. वो zebra crossing पे रुकते हैं. एक बार मैं कहा गाड़ी रोक गया, मैंने गाड़ी खराब हो गया, मैं नहीं क्रॉस कर रहा हूँ. ये साउथ एशिया है. Slowly crossed. So shit, he stopped for me. He actually stopped for me. Kerala, they don't stop for you. Okay. Paint zebra crossings all you like. They won't stop for you. Helmet compliance in Hyderabad is probably lower than Delhi. Okay. उल्टा साइड तो सब चलाते हैं, केरला में भी चलाते हैं, आंध्र में भी चलाते हैं, तेलंगाना में भी चलाते हैं, हर जगह चलाते हैं. So again, the social, other concerns, low fraternity, etc., these are being replicated. So in that sense, this national flag flies in all the bad ways in these places. So what are the lessons from this? Lessons from this are that without a huge shift, whether in North India or South India, coming from Peninsula perspective, I confine myself to the South. I can give you solutions to North and South as an economist if you're interested in anything, why I don't see why you should be. No one's going to implement anything. The conditions for a transformation of the most successful part of India require a rapid increase in productivity and a huge investment in merit goods like health, education, social welfare, etc., in knowledge. This is not happening. These societies remain as extractive as Eastern societies and Northern societies in India, simply at a higher level of per capita income. The big lesson I get from this, of course, is a lesson everybody knows, because my previous work, for which I got into deep trouble with the boss, is the fact that India is falling into a middle income trap. And whether we like it or not. Now, middle income trap, I have 5 minutes, I'll conclude. South India will also fall into it at a higher level of income than North India. Let me explain what a middle income trap is. Unless all of you know what it is. No? I'm from Bombay, I grew up in Bollywood. So let me do a movie example. I always do a picture. तो इंडिया में पिक्चर बनता है तो उसका हैप्पी एंडिंग हो सकता है या सैड एंडिंग हो सकता है. And till the 14th reel or those days we had reels. Till about halfway through the movie, you don't know कि happy ending होगा side ending होगा. Otherwise there's no movie in India. वो विलन जीतेगा, वो और फिर वापस आएगा अपने मम्मी के पास, नहीं मालूम. वो 18th reel में पता चलेगा. So all my adult life, I was born in 67. I have lived in India saying, picture अभी बाकी है, अभी 14 दिन चल रहा है. From about 2019 I began to see a picture खत्म. What is a middle income trap? अरे वो picture का हमेशा tragic ending ही हुआ है पूरी दुनिया में. From Brazil to Argentina, think of these countries: Egypt, Mexico, Philippines, Thailand. Think of all these countries I'm mentioning: South Africa, Turkey. Most of the developed. What do? Go to a level of per capita income, and you get stuck. You get stuck. Why? You get stuck because many of the things that were afflicting your society when you were low-income countries continue to afflict you when you were middle-income countries. You have education challenges, you have health challenges, you have poverty challenges, and you have added security challenges. Go to South Africa, go to Brazil. I lived there. My house had an electric fence. First time and hopefully last time in my life. 3 years I was head of the UN in Brazil, the electric fence around my house. All right? So all the challenges that what is to be in a rich country? To be a rich country is one, to be safe, B, to be able to walk on clean pavements, right? 3, not to be afraid of catching diseases which are not going to be treated typically unless you're very unlucky. That is the development transformation. Ye happy ending picture ka only 3 or 4 countries have done. And to have reasonably controlled misogyny also, I keep forgetting. That's important also. It comes under control. All the countries I mentioned have not succeeded in diminishing misogyny to the extent that a rich country does. Okay? The only rich country I know that continues to have high misogyny is Japan. And I'm very interested as to why. I don't have time to find out. Even South Korea is improved, not Japan. I don't understand Japan. Lovely country, but don't understand. That's a middle income trap. Now, what is Brazil's prospect? To remain there forever. Patal Bhairavi bolte hain in Hindu religion. Patal Bhairavi. You know, you're in Patal if you're poor, right? तुम स्वर्ग में हो, उसके बीच में भी एक जगह है. Purgatory in Christianity. I'm sure Islam has something for it, I don't know. But something between heaven and hell. It's called purgatory in Christianity. Middle income countries are in purgatory. And permanently in purgatory. We are going there. Finally, we are going there at two-tone levels, but that's not going to prevent conflict. Finally, let me tell you why I think this has to be solved. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to solve it, probably unsuccessfully. But it's very important for young people to understand this is going to be your lived future. It's not my lived future. I'm at the end of my career. I can try and do something about this public service. I don't really care. You're at the point if everyone goes on behaving like they do now, I'll just leave and go and live in Sri Lanka and have a zebra crossing. But I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Look at history. Think of any country where the majority population was poor and the minority population was rich in the 20th century. I have looked. I have found one maybe case, and that's called Spain. Spain is a work in progress, we'll see. Otherwise, no country has these qualities. United States, all the rich people live on the coasts, all the poor people live inside, in places called South Dakota. Okay? One never goes there, of course. One goes to New York, Washington, Boston, civilized places. Who would go to wherever? Mississippi or something. Europe. All the poor and shitty countries of Europe, or were shitty, nobody lived there. Ireland, Portugal, Greece, serious countries there where the majority population lives: England, Germany, France. So prosperity was combined with population. US, prosperity was combined with population. Okay? Japan, prosperity was combined with population. Any country look. The only two countries I can remember where this did not happen are both called former. One was the former Soviet Union, and the other is the former Yugoslavia, where the rich were the minority and the poor were the majority. If you're not able to solve this problem either through diffusion of prosperity or by sharply increasing the prosperity divide, I'm afraid you know what I want to say. I don't want to say it. So we should look to this, and I think it is a very urgent task because we're also entering a period of global economic decline. And in the face of that, we have to address what I think is the existential issues of India. Not just from, and so when I said my peninsular perspective, what I want to tell you is, even if you think about it from the perspective of South India, it's not going to make a big difference. We are same, but we are different. So unless we are jointly able to deal with this socio-economic challenge, and in the advanced parts of the country, radically change the way we behave in response to a higher per capita income, the future for this country is very, very bleak. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roy, for this wonderful, wonderful lecture. lecture. Yeah, for touching on so many different aspects and dimensions. And also it was really fun. You know, that was the word that I could think of. And it's a word that we seldom use in academic settings, right? The lecture's really fun. Yeah, thank you so much once
I've been
again.
bored so much by academics all my life. At the age of 50, I decided I'll never, the only thing I'm trying to do is not be boring.
You've succeeded in doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll now open the floor to questions.
Comments?
Yeah. Comments, reflections, remarks, anything.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir. My name is Pranab. I'm a MSc Development Practice student over here. I basically want to know the kind of things that are happening in the countries over here in Asia. Start off with Sri Lanka, then Bangladesh, then Nepal. We also have some problems cropping up in Europe. Recently in France, we're seeing some things happening. So how do you see it, you know?
Good question, thank you. But nothing to do with my talk. But nevertheless, it's something I do worry about and research. And the best example of that is me. You see, let me give you one very interesting thing that happened. I don't know how you guys celebrate Diwali. College friends, etc., etc. And you play tash and you drink, whatever people do in North India, I don't know. In the South, you light diyas and you drink, and so on and so forth. My father, when he celebrated Diwali, would go and see his clan of distant relatives, including those who were less prosperous than him. That was actually a sign of fraternity in those days. On a global scale, in my view, what has happened, and which is common to all countries, including India, is that people like me, it's happened at the extreme in rich countries, I'll explain. But all over the country, minimum this has happened, we have become, and there I think a lot of people have a lot of valid things to say, we may not like to hear them. We have become denationalized or supranationalized and deracinated. It's not a bad thing to do, because there's no particular reason I should love a place where I was born, right? What is the reason? I don't know. I can see many reasons not to love India. I can see some to love India, but I can see lots of reasons not to love India. Okay. I'm comfortable here, so I live here. That's okay. That's different. That's just comfort. जैसे कुत्ता comfortable है ना घर में, तो घर भी सारा slum हो तो वो comfortable है, वहाँ तो रहता है. तो क्या करें? It doesn't mean that मेरा country great है. But earlier, that sense of comfort came from having what I would call universal links. I don't want to go on and on about this. Let me quickly cut to the chase. In my case, my friends are global, not just because I went to live in England or I've lived a global life. I find people have lived here all their lives are like me. You know why? I like to eat, I love eating, something called unagi. Do you know what unagi is? It's eel. It's Japanese style eel cooked in a plum sauce. I have a Japanese friend who loves eating maki dal. He knows about maki dal, I know about unagi. And we compare notes about maki dal and unagi. On what? On social media, on Facebook. So I have a virtual network of friends who share my interests, which technology has made possible, which enables me not to care about my immediate homeland in terms of social relations. You then detach and you become, one thing globalization did do was it produced a sort of global elite, which also included the political elites in every country, whether liberal or conservative. Obviously, there was a large proportion of people who were excluded from this, and they got very angry. And that anger, which has been manifested in Modi ji here, I'm not saying it's the only reason. I'm saying there are many reasons why it happens. All right, but this is an important reason. Has also manifested in the UK, has also manifested in England, has also manifested because by definition, and this has been taken to absurd lengths in the West, it's happening in India now. There's a great book by Sanjay Baru called The Secession of the Successful. How anybody with half a damn chance is splitting this country, with logical reasons to do so. Now, just published. Now, so what has happened to the upper classes, especially with finance capital growing, is that actually, you know what? Who is the head of the FBI? Some guy called Patel, no, with big eyes. Why do you think a brown guy is head of the FBI? Or a brown guy was the Prime Minister of England? Why people don't want to do these things anymore? They're too rich. किसको जाना है FBI में? वहाँ पे स्क्रूटनी होगी, लोग आपके पीछे पड़ेंगे. राहुल गांधी बेचारा 6 बार बाहर जाता है. ऑपोजिशन लीडर ने कि 6 बार बाहर जाता है छुट्टी पर. पूरा मीडिया है वो फिर से बाहर गया, फिर से बाहर गया. That's totally literally what they want to do. They disengage from politics. They disengage from economics until they see resistance. But that resistance did not come in the form that you saw in Nepal or the form you saw in Bangladesh. It can come in the form of Trump in stable societies. It can come in the form of Nigel Farage in England. It can come in the form of Lacan in France. It can come in the form of, I won't say who, in India. Okay? So that is a separate phenomenon. One of the consequences of globalization for a small elite was generally disengagement. I know this because I'm very rare. You've seen my mixed parentage. I also speak 5 Indian languages. So in that sense, my comfort zone is slightly higher. You know, I don't have any illusions about what this country is, but I'm comfortable here because I'm comfortable in most zones of India. And therefore I can see this happening. Okay. I also come from a city where the elite of that city never spoke any language properly, including English. Right? They spoke something I used to call Babalu. You know, some English, some Hindi. Nothing was grammatical. So they were extremely uneducated people, but they had a certain consumption lifestyle that bound them. This also affected academia, since you're all academics, or most of you. Academia has become completely cut off from the lives of people. You know, you have started verbalizing nouns in a way that is absolutely frightening. You're like economists without the math. Economists were the first to get cut off. We got cut off because we used math to cut ourselves off. And to the extent that a very senior professor, ISI one day told me, I don't understand what policy you're doing. Economics is about solving puzzles. All right. Similar things have happened because I'm now trying to read other social sciences, with the exception of history, where I must confess, become much more readable than subaltern studies. Once upon a time, we had something called, couldn't understand a word they say. Now I can understand. Somebody writes a history, वो क्या बोल रहा है समझ में आता है. I have now discovered that sociology is not all anthropology. It is not verbalizing of nouns and talking about the certain phrases they use. By the way, I'm very serious about this. This kind of thing irritates people because they feel disempowered when they read these things, and there is absolutely no reason for any academic, in my view, to write things that a reasonably intelligent person cannot comprehend with some effort. Some effort. But it cannot be, it can't be that you do a PhD and write in the journal of something that nobody reads, which is rated 5-star. So if you look at any sphere of elitism, the corporate culture has completely divorced itself from this culture. When I was young, in Bengal, they have a thing called Durga Puja. So as expats in Bombay, 4th generation also, there were Durga Pujas. And every community had its own Durga Puja. The corporate, I remember this because the corporate Durga Puja was in Kambala, it was the posh part of Bombay. And they used to give out Cadbury chocolates. That's Prasad, that guy, the head Durga Puja man. They stopped in 2002, 2003. It was a very interesting thing for me. The elites now view Ganesh Mahotsav, which is actually an RSS inspired thing. Let's not go there. It's popular, right? Ganesh Chaturthi in Hyderabad, Bombay. They don't engage. Politicians will. But क्या करता है हमारा रोड खराब हो गया, हमारा वो गाड़ी नहीं चलता है रोड पे, सुहेल सेठ कलकत्ता में बोलता है वो गाड़ी नहीं चलता मेरा एयरपोर्ट जाना बहुत मुश्किल होना मांगता है काय को ये एलिफेंट गाड़ियाँ लाता अपने घर में करो नहीं कर सकते इसे सार्वजनिक has a very important thing and the third reason this has happened is India has become like most middle income countries totally gated. I'll give you 2 examples of that and stop because the question is very interesting, so permit me my small indulgence of answering at length. One thing I realized, of this place called Gurgaon, no? It's a bizarre place. Anyway, when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, when someone from Darbari city, civil servants when they retired used to go back to their states to retire, even if they came from Orissa. They would go to Bhubaneswar. I remember there was a Vice Admiral Avati, top naval guy in Bombay. He went and retired in his home district of Satara. Now, when that happens, something very interesting happens. You connect with society because you're big man, Srimant Mantra, in Marathi we call it, gentleman is Srimant. So Srimant has gone back. Now, if the power goes or there's some quality problem, Srimant calls up the DC or intervenes with the SP if he is under. The SPDC think twice, oh, bada aadmi hai, bola kuch karne ka. So broadly public services work. That has collapsed. Now everyone lives in Gurgaon. Okay, all my civil service retires because they are corrupt also. They retire to Gurgaon. अब कोई जाना ही नहीं, अब वो बेचारा भुवनेश्वर से आया शक्तिकांत दास थोड़ी ना वापस जाने वाला कटक, है ना? Second thing that has happened is the decline of the railways. That is a very important thing. The railways was a tremendous socialization. तुम फर्स्ट एसी में जाओ, वो तुम और वो स्लीपर क्लास वाले एक ही सीढ़ी से चढ़ेगा, तुमको प्लेटफॉर्म पे जाना पड़ेगा, and you all have to complain about the food and the train being collectively late. Now this time I took a train, I made a bad mistake. I took Vande Bharat. I was disgusted. Vande Bharat is supposed to be a great train. Now what they say, European feeling, nothing like European feeling. Okay, horrible train. And then I was thinking, ये horrible मुझे लग रहा है, मैं इतना deracinated हो गया हूँ कि if I travel sleeper class tomorrow, what's going to happen to me? You know, and what we have replaced that with, which my foreign colleagues love. I tell them, you come to India, you take an interstate bus. You can sleep, but you can't sit. It is a unique innovation of India. सो सकते हो, जा भी सकते हो, ऐसे नहीं बैठ सकते हो, देखना पड़ेगा, चाहे तुम पटना जाओ, चाहे तुम जयपुर जाओ. Only sleeping allowed. That is also private. It is gated. I can take it on gated communities, gated electricity, gated this, gated that, gated Gurgaon, gated Kachi Bangli, all the way. You know, things are gated. So obviously then your connect will go. When your connect goes, either that vacuum will be filled by a scoundrel, or you will get the kind of anarchy that you saw in Bangladesh and many other places. This is going to happen across the world in my predictions over the next 10 years. Final nail in the coffin is, there's an economic fact you should all know. I feel very sorry for you. Many of you are under 30, but I have very bad news for you. I'm part of a global study which shows that in every country, including India, it's a tragedy in India because they're so poor, you should be there. For the first time in the last 150 years, the generation becoming adults after 2016 is going to be less prosperous than the generation before them, unless Papa ke paas kuch ghus ya paisa tha. If your Papa had some money, you're good, or house, or something. I'm not talking about that because most Papas did not have that, especially in a poor country. So if you're going to be more prosperous than your Papa, if you don't have that legacy coming to you, legacy let me quantify it, you need about 2 crores. If you don't have 2 crores, you're going to be less prosperous than your parents. What have your parents did? In the sense, if your father was a bank clerk and you become a bank officer, you're going to be less prosperous. And this is happening across the world, in every country in the world. You combine these things, you'll see where we are in this transition. It's a very ugly place globally.
One question around your.
Just what we do is we collect a few questions. And then, sir, we can respond to
Let's see. This was a fairly unique question. Maybe his is good. Okay.
Mine is just an explanatory one. I wanted on this second solution which will not work, which is what you said about, I think, the capital infusion in the north. If you can slightly elaborate on that, because there has been, I mean, even traditionally there has been like industrial centers in the north. They have gone down, of course, but also like, for example, Delhi NCR region, you gave the example of, let's say, the textiles. So both kinds actually does exist in the north, like for example, the RMG industry with around 4 to 5 lakh workers exist in NCR region, as well as something like a Gandhi Nagar ready-made garment industry, which is mostly export area oriented, but it employs a large section. I mean, similar as Tirupur, for that matter. Even on the जो 200 रुपए का शर्ट वाला मुद्दा है, वो भी गांधीनगर दिल्ली में और इसमें बनता है. Ludhiana. So yeah. So in the sense, like, why you're saying that this one, if the like rationale of the banyas would be taken, I mean, similar can be taken here as well. I mean, of course, most of it is migrant labor. Even when it is local labor, it is like local migrant who are used, and that can easily be used. So that was one. The second is one on India's integration into the global value chain. If you did not mention that, but I'm just asking it because one of the solutions, so to say, is supposed to be like Rahul Gandhi is saying all the time, ki industrialization and jump in the, it's called social upgrading, no? Jump in the value chain, basically. The ambition, as I see, is much less. It's like we will go into the value chain, but in a very low, on a lower domain. But there are great successful examples. Nickel in Indonesia, for example, you can jump up at that. So why, if that can also be?
Let me first, I'm glad you brought up Ludhiana. So let me answer that question for you. Why is Ludhiana not regarded as more successful than Tirupur? Simply because for 2 reasons. One, the total value added in Ludhiana is lower than Tirupur, and that's fine. I'm not discussing a high value added chain. But they're not able to scale up for very similar reasons to Tirupur. Maybe more benign reasons. I find Punjabis are far more adventurous. You know, you find them, they're like Bengalis, an immigrant community largely. They immigrate everywhere, you know, and like Keralites, obviously. They immigrate everywhere. So it's not for lack of doing. Problem with Punjab is that it's a very odd geography. It is doomed to fail. It's our fault. It's not their fault. Our fault first because of partition. I went to Lahore for the first time. I came back and joked with all my Punjabi friends. Yeah, I said, now I know why you don't have your soul. you lost your soul in Lahore. Lahore was a fine metropolitan city. You have to go there to see it. And it was the heartbeat of this place. Delhi was a provincial town. So Lahore was the place where things happened. Punjab has been cut off from its metropolitan hinterland. The Green Revolution killed Punjab. I have a friend in college with me, became finance minister of Punjab, Manpreet Badal. So one day he and I were talking, and I speak some Punjabi. So we said, I say it in Hindi, he said, Bhatinda mein aajkal utte nahi dikhte hain. Camels. What we were talking about was a massive ecological change that had happened. If you went east of Delhi from Narnaul, there's a place called Narnaul, you went up on that eastern axis, up to the north of Bhatinda, you would see camels, not just in Rajasthan. Camels were a common mode of transportation. The camels were what we use for irrigation work. Camels. You don't see camels anymore in Punjab because Punjab is growing rice. It has destroyed the ecology of Punjab, and therefore the kind of capital that would normally come from a rich agricultural state, which actually founded a lot of the Ludhiana entrepreneurship, has collapsed. So they're capital starved. And because they're informal, they don't have access to formal credit. Largely informal sector here. The big advantage of the Tamil Nadu industry, as opposed to these people and Vapi, is they are formalized now. They are formal sector outfits and they have access to formal credit. So that's an accident of history. On the second point about value chains, I think that's an overblown argument. I'll tell you why. Don't buy it. So I think producing Apple iPhones is a massive up in the value chain. After that massive up, if a median worker earns half the amount necessary to pay tax, how will I become prosperous? So it is, even when you move up the value chain, it doesn't guarantee the end of extraction. Because the capitalists will continue to extract. It's their job to extract. It's not their job to be nice to you. That is the job of society to make sure it's nice to you. Right? So one of the things I'm trying to do in Tamil Nadu and Telangana is set up a state productivity commission, which says that for every increase in GDP in productivity, how much is going to capital, how much is going to labor, how much is the government taking. And I believe that the share should be equal roughly. Paise banao yaar. I mean, capitalism is about making money. I'm a capitalist. I like people to make money. I'm from Bombay. But don't extract. Right? And that has become a big problem. Another, by the way, while on the subject, another impediment to, this is more economics, but another impediment to capitalism in India is something that every industrialist knows and none of you know, which is you don't make money through making things. You make money through rent seeking. Let me give you one frightening example of that in my own city, Bombay. The sale of the old textile mill real estate in Bombay generated more profits for the owners of those dead textile mills than the cumulative, in real terms, profits made by the entire textile industry of Bombay from 1920 to 2001 when the districts were sold. So 90 years of making things provided them with less money than one real estate transaction. That is India's big problem. We make money now not from profits but from rents. We need to make money from profits. Somebody has to make money. He doesn't make money from profits. But somebody has to do it.
Hi sir, my name is Kaumudi Upadhyay. I'm a 11th grader from Kyarmangalam Global School. So
From where?
Kyarmangalam Global School in GK1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I heard you
Anushka's mother
mention.
sent you.
Yeah?
Anushka's mother sent you.
No.
This is Sharad.
No, Meenu Dubey.
Ah.
Yes. So I heard you mention the term nationalism and the political asymmetry that we talk about here. Sorry. How do you think the extremist nationalists in India, the people who we like, in Hindi we can call them andhbhakts of the political system of our government, how do you think they facilitate that political asymmetry? How do you think they feed more power into it as people of India?
See, first let me just clarify some terminology here. I'm not a nationalist, I'm a patriot. To be a nationalist is a very difficult thing to do for the following reason. I've asked this question of the Sarsang Chanak of the RSS and even he was embarrassed. I said, देखिए, दो बच्चे यहाँ के कमरे में, एक बांग्लादेशी मुसलमान है और एक इंडियन हिंदू है, just to make things straight for the RSS. एक सांप ने दोनों को काटा है. You have one portion of snake venom, serum. एक ही बच्चे बचेगा. किसको दोगे? भारतीय को दोगे. तुम्हें रात को तुम सो पाओगे ठीक से? बिल्कुल आराम से इत्मीनान से सोगे. अगर तुम इत्मीनान से सो सके तो तुम जरूर नेशनलिस्ट हो. मैं नहीं हूं भाई. I can be a patriot. I cannot be a nationalist. So when it comes to andhbhakts, you have to ask yourself, what is the Anubhakti they are buying? And there are Anubhaktis not just in India. Nigel Farage is, what you say, he's just a successful clown who has managed to, sort of channel all this. But that movement is social. I have certain uncomfortable views on this. Are people relaxed? Am I in a safe enough space to say these things without hurting anyone? I don't think Hindus and Muslims ever got on. I have a very close Muslim friend who lives in Allahabad, and his mother was one day complaining that to me that one of her nieces, Muslim niece, had fallen in love with a Hindu boy. And she said, देखिए ना डॉक्टर साहब, हम ठीक से रहते हैं, भाईचारा से रहते हैं, लेकिन अलग अलग है ना हम रहते हैं. तो ये शादी-वादी तालमेल रिश्ता ये कहाँ से आ गया बीच में? तो मैं समझ गया, मतलब हर अपनी जगह ठीक है, लेकिन तुम अपनी जगह में रहो, हम अपनी जगह में रहेंगे. अब when you have that separateness, you have nothing that binds you beyond that separateness, then it can always be used to foment religious division. I'll give you the example of Kerala. In Kerala, that separateness was not there. I'll say it is there more now than it was earlier, but still that separateness is not there. And the reason it fails is that as much as the loony right in Kerala tries to say that Onam, where you get excellent, unfortunately, vegetarian food once a year or twice, once a year, no? Sadhya, is a religious festival. Everyone insists it's a harvest festival. Same thing happens in Tamil Nadu. Because that kind of separateness we're talking about, as sharply entrenched here, was not there. Then you have two very large partition spaces where you've always had a lot of incipient communalism. What fuels this communalism is, one, the history of co-religious separatism. Otherwise, if you look at it, there is absolutely no difference between what BJP says and Jinnah said. Jinnah should be Kaide India. Two nations theory, Jinnah ka tha. No. So they are saying there are two nations. When they say, every time they say that Muslims have their own country and they should go to Pakistan or wherever it is, they are echoing what Jinnah said. Jinnah said that 80 years ago. Okay. So why don't we just replace Gandhi with Jinnah? Because Jinnah was a Muslim, so they don't like the fact that he said what they said. Let's leave that aside. Up, that is an overlay in India, which would take it as what we economists call initial condition. That Hindu and Muslim communities have been separate and there is ample scope to cause animosity, suspicion, etc. As much as there is to cause animosity between, let's say, a Jatav Dalit, non-Jatav Dalit. वो भी होता है. Okay. It comes from this thing that I was telling my colleague who works in sociology that defeats me about this guy. I do not understand this country's sociology. It is so intricately planned. It's like some genius sat there, some 5-year planner, and thought up this intricate system of castes and religions, and all that. Now, all this can be transcended, and one man who nobody likes anymore tried to do it, and I'll tell you an example of how he did it. His name was Jawaharlal Nehru. He was like me, an immigrant. He was a Kashmiri from Allahabad. All right. And how did he transcend it? You know something very interesting. Nehru never talked about a nation. I have looked at it very carefully. You will not find a single time when Nehru refers to India as a nation. He always calls it a nation in the making. So it's a construction project. Otherwise, what is this ice cream code? Kahan se aa gaya? Well, ice cream going to fazul hai. For a long time I thought that POK was part of India. It is. You go and see a map every morning, it gets in your brain, man. So you lose reality. So, but you can't say this in public, you're anti-national. So chup raho. ठीक है, let's pretend it's all there. मैं कभी भी पूछता सेंसस होता है वहाँ. मैंने फाइनेंस कमीशन ने पूछा था वो कश्मीर वो ले रहे हैं ना, तो हमारा कंट्री है वो पीओके, उसको कश्मीर में ला रहे हो ना, तो देन कश्मीर शेयर विल गो अप. नहीं, आप तो यूनियन टेरिटरी हो गया, पता नहीं क्या हो गया. तो what Nehru did and what we are missing is to have, there's only one nationalism that works well in this kind of messed up country, psychologically everything. Economic nationalism. You give people a common cause of prosperity, which is inclusive in nature, they will go towards it. If you look at Hindi movies from Bombay, 60s, 70s, a lot of them were about economic nationalism. A lot of them, just see them. All right. Look at also Marathi movies also. That prosperity deal has to work. Part of what has happened relating to your question in this country is we have broken the trust of people who we offered a deal to. See, people, poor people, common people, I know I speak as on elite and off the elites. People will forgive you a lot of things until they feel you don't have their back anymore. And what we elites have done is we have made sure that people think we don't have their back anymore. We don't care for them. तब तक वो बहुत कुछ सह सकते हैं. They don't mind you being more prosperous than them. But don't flaunt your BMW in their face. थोड़ा सा सबर. थोड़ा सा सदर, वो हमने नहीं किया. Contrast this with the very successful experiment in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu has a nationalism. They say very proudly, I am from Dravidian stock. Okay, what does that mean? There it is not a promise of social difference. It's a promise of common economic prosperity. They had a social problem. They said, no, we don't like Iyengar's. That's okay. They were 2% of the population. So they went off to USA. And the rest of them, they were united around this proposition. We are of Dravidian stock and Periyar and all that. And therefore, we are going to prosper jointly. And there was some delivery of that. That also leads to some relative lack of social tension. There's a lot of casteism in Tamil Nadu. I'm not belittling that at all. But there is more inclusion than an ideology which has nothing to do with economic prosperity behind it. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, this Arun Jaitley told me. So I used to work for him. So one day he has a bad habit of, he's not my friend. He never understood that. वो आके वो फजूल की बातें करता था वो चैनल ऑल राइट टीवी चैनल्स आर फिनिश्ड अब सोशल मीडिया टॉप होगा टोनी दिस 2016 वन डे टोल्ड मी ये आप खत्म है आप विल नेवर सर्वाइव पोलाइटली इज माय मिनिस्टर सेड क्यों सर सेड वी वर ओनली स्केयर्ड ऑफ सीपीएम सेड क्यों सर ओनली पार्टी विद एन आइडियोलॉजी ये आप क्या है सर्विस डिलीवरी पार्टी है मैं आपका फ्रिज जल्दी ठीक करूंगा और क्या विचारधारा है इनका मैंने कहा और बीजेपी का है हमारा विचारधारा है आपको पसंद ना हो ही डिडंट माइंड लेकिन है we are the only ideological party in the country and then I realize what Amit Shah says sometimes that BJP is the only party you can predict will not have you can't predict who the next leader will be. It's absolutely true. Just think of every single party in India, they're all dynastic. Even Najib Boda today said that, he's a dynast. Right? There is no non-dynastic party in India. Obviously you don't have any ideology then, other than family. वो अमर अब्दुल्ला भी डायनेस्टिक है वहाँ स्टैलिन भी डायनेस्टिक है स्टैलिन का बेटा खुश्चेव आएगा वो भी डायनेस्टिक रहेगा पता नहीं कौन है करानी थी हाँ सो when you have a unipolar ideology of hatred the only way you can contest it is ideologically and that is why technocratic politics is something that will kill us our elites prefer I was telling Aditya Thapre that once I said in Marathi I said you can't तू गुजरातियों के घर नहीं चला पाएगा तू बहुत ही शरीफ लड़का है तू मेरे स्कूल गया है तू पेटिशन लिखेगा मालूम है तो दिल्ली को पेटिशन लिखेगा you are modeling into reforms you can't do Quit India movement you can do modeling into reforms because तुम अब गुंडा नहीं हो ना you have no fire in your belly you can't create a social movement Mamata Banerjee is relatively successful because she's a gunda completely apolitical there's no ideology there but she's like you kill 5 I'll kill 7 वो बाकी मैं होता है Simplanta one is going to kill me that's 6 months So I think I hope I've answered your question. They're not unthugs. They have an ideology. You can only challenge it by proposing an alternative ideology. And they will do their best to pretend that you don't challenge them, but if you can trouble them to think, you'll have achieved something.
I did confirm for you, she is Anushka Sharan's mother.
I thought you were Anushka's mother. One of my students told me that some people from other school is coming. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. So I am Pakhi. I am a third year student at LSR, and I'm also a student researcher at CNES. I had 2 questions actually. One of them is a follow-up from what you just said. So you talked about this whole project of economic nationalism that worked in comparison to other models of nationalism we could have adopted. But then, so when we study political science and economics, one term we usually come across very often is neoliberalism and the social reconfiguration that it brought along with it. Do you think the project of economic nationalism could still be realized in this reconfigured society that came about after neoliberalism?
Good question. And did you listen to Mr. Tandon when you were, what was his name? That horrible foreign service man who came and gave you guys a lecture?
Deepak Vora.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Very glad you protested. Very glad you protested. पता नहीं उसको foreign service में कौन घुसाता है ऐसे? तो
Not protested, the entire hall clapped and अभी दिखाई दे रहा है.
Standing ovation.
No, they were
Ovation.
they were divided. The college came out in unison to protest, but a lot of students were
You're willing to
swayed.
walk out, sir, but then you're not allowed to.
You are women and he was so sexist.
Yeah.
Anyway, your problem. Fair enough. I'm glad to say my cohort of LSRians and your ELSAs as they were called, they wrote a petition. Anyway, जाके उसके घर चलाओ ना. So I'm a great believer in burning people's houses, the right sort of thing, not the wrongs. So to your question about economic, of course, there is no country in the world that has not prospered on ideology of economic prosperity. Even Trump, I have some sympathy for, I'm not agree with his methods necessarily, I have some sympathy for what he's saying. From his perspective, what he's offering, make no mistake, other than a sort of nativist ideology, the economic ideology. An ideology of prosperity of the have-nots versus the haves. You see? And this is very important to understand, because if you look at the USA for the last 40 years, you know how it's made its money? Through finance and through Brahman jaise. Brahmins have nothing to sell. They can't run the plow, they can't do business. खाली psychologically लोगों को भड़काते हैं और कोई काम नहीं है हमारा. तो उन्होंने क्या किया? Where is the big money coming from in the US? What is the biggest industry of our times? New industry. Biggest. It's in front of you. IT. IT, smartphones. The intellectual property behind that is called Google, which is run by some Telugu servant, but don't worry about that. And Microsoft. How do they make their money? They don't produce iPhones. They're made in China or Taiwan or Tamil Nadu or something. How do they make their money? Heavy investment in research and getting yields from research. That has been the game. Now, unfortunately, that game does not benefit most Americans. But it pushes up, there's something in economics called Dutch disease. It pushes up prices. Because when you sit in New York and you're worth like $9 billion, it's happening in India, you'll buy up all the best housing. You'll push up restaurant prices by 400%. And Trump has seen this because he's part of that, except he came from the Gunda real estate. Right? He's a Gunda. New York ka Gunda hai. Real estate se hai. And he's therefore offering an economic alternative, and it makes a lot of sense what he's saying to a poor person about tariffs. I can sit there with my PhD and say, oh, tariffs are very bad, you must have globalization, free trade. He's saying कि तू साला मुझसे ज़्यादा खरीदता है, मुझसे कम तू खरीदता नहीं मुझसे, तू मेरा चीज़ खरीद, नहीं तो मैं तुझ पे टैरिफ लगाऊंगा और बोल. It makes perfect sense to his electoral constituency.
The unions there are supporting.
Of course, I would support him. Absolutely, I would support it. Why would you not support it? That's economic nationalism for you. In response to what you were saying, now he can fool you, because now what he's going to do is he's going to give tax cuts to himself. All right. So, but that's a separate matter. The point is, he has got the nationalism that Nigel Farage is offering, or Le Pen is offering, is economic. You dirty Indians are coming and taking our jobs. Right? So if the Indians go, you will have jobs. And that's a stupid argument, because there's a reason why Indians came there in the first place. Right? And so all nationalist responses have a high dose of economic nationalism. My biggest relief is that this current bigoted government is not economically nationalist. I can tell you that from first hand. They have no clue what to do. For them, the economy is a hindrance. They कैसे भी बना डाले, कुछ करो उनको, खाना खिलाओ, उनको कुछ दो, बना डाले कहीं से. They have no prosperity imagination at all. None whatsoever. Unfortunately, I got a big fight with Rahul Gandhi on this, neither does the opposition. When he compared that stupid Nyay, I've written something, you should look for it if you're interested, on the compensatory state. In my judgment, the state in India is no longer a development state, or even an economic nationalist state. What it is saying is, so sorry, you didn't develop it. Just think about it. Think about it for a minute. You Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which I call Pradhan Mantri Awas Thuk. Now, if you're earning more than the minimum wage, you should be able to afford to build one house in your lifetime using EMI like you and me. That's, I think, egalitarian capitalism. You can't do that, so I have to give that with subsidy. तू खाना नहीं खरीद सकता है, तुझे मुझे सब्सिडी देना पड़ता है. जो तू शर्ट खरीद सकता है वो मैं इंपोर्ट कर रहा हूँ. Education you can't afford, तुझे सब्सिडी देना पड़ रहा है. Health, so the 5 things that a common man can afford are being subsidized. So the state is spending all its money, and the state government, central government, everything, on compensating people for their failure in life, for their failure to give them an environment where they can succeed. Yes? That is an ideal breeding ground for economic nationalism to foster. But at this time, there is no political party or political configuration that can take advantage of this. That is our problem.
So what proportion of these subsidies to GDP?
Which subsidies?
All the subsidies applied that will be.
What are you saying? Proportion. At the moment, if you look at it as total non-salary revenue expenditure, non-salary, non-interest, all subsidies are approximately 90% of general government, that is center plus state system. Very little is going to have education, health, medical good, but real spending on that has dropped dramatically over the last 15 years.
Right. So there's always this thing where subsidies eating up.
No, eating up की बात नहीं है. It's a choice you make. No, there's another reason you do it. You know, there was Keynes said one very famous thing about public finance. He said, if you can afford it, you can do it. Problem is our state is so incompetent. They can't afford to do anything. So subsidy दे दो. कोविड के टाइम में हुआ था. मैंने कहा तेरी औकात नहीं ज़्यादा मत कर. Broken state है. कुछ यहाँ पे कुछ MSMEs को कुछ पैसे दे दो. यहाँ पे पैसे. DBT is very good for us. वो औकात है. DBT से वो time to pay. That's the limit of our state capacity. वो हम कर सकते हैं.
मुद्रा लोग.
हाँ? हाँ. Absolutely.
But
No, go ahead.
no, I just had one this thing. I think definitely I'm waiting for you to write a book on economic gimmicks of voting, which I think was new jam.
Me? I won't write. I don't never write books. Boring.
No, but whatever you write, these things can be a good book that I read regularly.
Oh.
But I think at a general, this thing are coming to all this boils down to state capacity forms.
A lot of it does.
Because like I'll just give you the GST reforms. Popcorn, flavored popcorn 5% and non-popcorn 0%.
Caramel popcorn.
Any banya will mislevel that and sell.
Of course.
So these are gimmicks and these are the instruments through which GST has been made. 50% of the GST data shared with state, 50% not. Even the top GST officials of the centers doesn't know who is making money out of that. So again, like it all boils down to that question that our states, I don't think capacity. I mean, there are of course hell and heaven difference between Bihar and Karnataka, for example. But and that leads to all sorts of decentralization and it gives a lot more power to the union government to do whatever it wants. Or do you think that even if there's a capacity, states are not really ready? एक प्लानिंग कमीशन होता था जिसमें इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल होता था पहले. They used to come and talk. Now नीति आयोग is a consultancy organization. They don't do that. But dialogues within states is something I think may do something.
Dialogues are happening. In the south, I'm very involved. The 4 southern states, I've got 5 of them. I've got them to talk. I can't bring Maharashtra and Gujarat into the picture. And nobody wants to work with Bengal. Everybody's terrified of Mamata Banerjee. Really terrified of her.
Government doesn't give money to Bengal. I'm not.
No, not Bombay. I'm saying that even the southern states, they don't want to see Mamata Banerjee. They just, because she is like Trump. Completely unpredictable. They support her because they don't want to see BJP in Bengal. I told them, I said, BJP is every reason to come to Bengal. बहुत बड़ा partition हुआ था वहाँ. All they have to do is chugli, and then they'll come. But and Bengal has not been well served by its governments. Just look at the CPM in Kerala and CPM in Bengal. I mean, it's a tragedy. But it's a lot of people also. But yeah, what you say is correct. I think state capacity, more than state capacity, I'd say it's we need capacity somewhere at the cusp, and this is by difficulty, of state and society. Because we don't have the kind of social mobilization that helps a state work effectively. The only state I've seen it happen well is Kerala. Kerala, behind the education movement, behind the health movements, there's a lot of social mobilization. Here the state is detached, in a sense, from society. And the IAS loves that. Because for the IAS, the first thing a Tehsildar wants is social mobilization. Uska power jata hai. We tried it with Gram Panchayats, we tried it with Panchayati Raj. The reason why the third tier of government also doesn't work is it doesn't work if there's no social capacity built up to match state capacity. So we will never have a third tier as long as the elites prefer to control things by maintaining a reasonably weak and entirely elite run state. Because the only way all elites can bolster state capacity is by participating in state action. And that they don't do.
So there is a disconnect, like you see. So this is a very exciting question.
No. Let's take it forward.
Take it outside.
I'll just take a minute to thank Dr. Roy once again for this wonderful session, for all your amazing insights.